Well, good day, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for a brand new episode of Life with Johnny Nocash. And man, we are at episode number 30. Wow. I can't believe that I've gone through 30 fucking episodes. I've seen so many podcasts come and go over the last number of months that I've been following, and then all of a sudden they just drop off the face of the planet. And I just want to say, before we dive right into today's episode, if you have a passion project that you really enjoy doing, if it makes you feel good, who gives a shit about the stats or the numbers or if there's money involved or about the money? Do it because you enjoy doing it. Life is too fucking short to be like worrying about what other people think or statistics and things like that. If you enjoy doing what you're doing, just stick it out. Don't be dipping your toe in, fucking dive in. And everything takes time too. You know, a lot of people expect and have massive expectations of their success when they start something. Please get rid of that fucking notion because it's not true. I mean, sure, it happens to a few people, but ultimately you got to put in the work, you got to put in the time, you got to have some kind of longevity for anything to really catch on. So my little bit of advice before we jump into this is, just stick to what you're doing, and especially if you love it. So there we go. And just before I do dive in, thank you everyone so much, for sticking with me for 30 fucking episodes. And if you've just been starting to listen, in recent months, thank you so much for tuning in. It means the world to me. Definitely, if this is something that you get something out of, if you know somebody who might benefit from some of these episodes, definitely share it, subscribe, and do all that kind of shit because, of course, ultimately I'd like to grow. But if I don't, whatever. It is what it is. I'll still continue doing this for the listeners here today. So without further ado, we are doing a Q&A, something very different from the normal format. And I've got a number of questions here from you guys who sent them in last night when I made an Instagram post asking what some of your questions are. So we're going to dive into that right now. Here we go. I'm living in a van playing outlaw tunes. Live with Johnny Nocash. Smoking them smokes and drinking that booze. Live with Johnny Nocash. Where I go, how the fuck don't know. I'm off the grid on dusty roads. There ain't no better way of eating beans. All right, so I am still on the island. I'm waiting on this booze, folks. I'm just waiting on this booze, and then I can move on. I got to say, I love, my friends here on the island, but at the same time, it's like, man, I need to move forward. I feel like I've been sitting on the side of the road or these like really shitty areas where I've been having to sleep for the night. It's not been a great time. Actually, as we speak, there's actually an RV right in front of me. He's got a fucking generator just cranking the fucking thing. And it's just like this rumbling nonstop all day and all night. I'd prefer not to be around this fucking guy, to be perfectly honest. But, it could be a hell of a lot worse, I suppose. So we are here on a fucking milestone of 30 episodes. I've got a ton of questions here that we're going to dive into. Clearly, these are important questions, I guess, that you guys have for me. You guys have been sticking with me for quite some time, so I'm really happy to open the doors so you guys kind of get a sneak peek of the questions and the messages that I get personally. Some of them are great and some of them are strange. I'm going to start with probably the most strange question. And this is, I got two people asking this question recently, but I get this question way more than you would think. And it's strange to me because I'm not sure why so many people are curious about like my sexual activity. I really don't. It's very strange to get messages like this, but we're going to address it. Now, question number one, and probably I just want to get this one out of the way because it's asked way more frequently than one might think. And that is, how many ladies have I had in the van? Well, I've had two vans since starting this whole lifestyle. This is a fucking weird question, man. I get this all the fucking time. And I'm not sure why people are so like, obsessed with this, but I mean, sex sells, so maybe people are just constantly curious. But I will answer this question as best as I can, but I'm going to put it this way. I'm a middle-aged man living in a fucking white van of all colors. Would you want to get in a van with someone like me in a van like this? I don't know. Like the odds are probably against you or against me. Would you let your daughter get in a fucking van like this? I fucking highly doubt that either. And if you would, you're probably a really shitty parent. So to answer this question, it's a very different experience from living in an apartment to living in a van. I don't meet nearly as many people, especially for long periods of time. Like when I was in Toronto and I just go to the bar. Well, I mean, like I lived right down the road, and it's comfortable. Like there's a separate room for a bathroom. There's a fucking kitchen. There is a couch. Like there's just so many more ways that I guess an intimate encounter would be comfortable. This ain't that comfortable, folks. I mean, I've done an entire episode of how little room there is in here. So when I have had guests, it's really cramped. And it's not very, like, comforting and welcoming. Like you open the door and you're like, yeah, come on in. And it's like you're squished. There's nowhere to fucking go. And especially when it comes to like bathrooms and things like that, like I said, like this, I'll say this, because I don't want to get into a lot of like explicit detail because, I mean, that's, again, maybe you'll have to ask me again down the road because this question will constantly be coming in. Right from the day I started living in a van, this was one of the most common questions I got all the time. But, I have to leave the van when, they're using the bathroom, things like that, and which is totally understandable. I mean, you don't want to just be sitting here watching them taking a fucking piss. So maybe this is a little bit too much information, but I'm trying to be as like cautious about this as I can because it is a sensitive topic. I'd like to keep some of my life slightly private, so I am as much of an open book as I can be, but I'd also like to, keep some things to myself. So let's just say, and we'll wrap up this question, let's just say that it's very difficult and much different from when you're living in a house or an apartment or a bachelor or even just a shared apartment with a roommate or something like that. Very different fucking story, especially at my age. Most people are expecting that, somebody at my age would own a house, 2 fucking car garage, but yeah, that ain't the case anymore. So yeah, the sex question. I mean, people are just interested in this shit. It's a funny thing. This is a good question. I haven't talked about this openly at all, but one of my friends back in Toronto, we had discussed that I'm going to California come the summertime. And I'm not going to tell you why right now, but it is a fucking insane reason why I'm going to California. But the question is, do I plan on camping while I'm in California? Hell fucking yeah. Man, I've been to California once when I was like 10 or maybe 11 or some shit. California, like in Canadians' eyes, or probably the entire world's eyes, is kind of like, the glitz and the glam, the Hollywood shit. So hell yeah, man. I want to check out fucking Skid Row. I want to check out, some great tourist attractions and shit like that. Because, I mean, it's expensive, no doubt. So I'm going to do it all. And then I'll forget about it and just say to myself, I've been to fucking California and I've been to Los Angeles and now I can kind of get it out of my system and, wipe my hands clean with it. So yes, I will be camping in California. Can't fucking wait, man. I really can't wait for that kind of weather. I'm sure it's just a totally different like experience, and I'm really looking forward to the drive down there as well. I've heard nothing but incredible things about the drive from the West Coast all along the coast right to California. So yeah, I'm really fucking excited for that. And I'll probably leave here sometime in maybe late May, early June, somewhere around there. So just to give you a heads up on what I'm going to be doing in the next couple months is I'm heading southbound, baby. I'm heading south. Do I miss Toronto? This is a great question too, because I've talked a ton of shit about Toronto all the time. And I think about 4 or 5 days ago, I actually got homesick for the first time. I did. I'm seeing all my friends back home posting pictures and videos of them playing shows, and I was just like, fuck, man, like that is something I really, really miss. Now in Toronto, it was pretty easy to get a show for me. Living there. I had been there for 15 years. I'd been a part of the scene for a long time. I knew the promoters. I knew the bar owners. I knew a lot of people there. And now coming out into brand new towns and new territory, I don't know a goddamn soul. So I actually reached out recently to a venue here in Victoria for a show, and they're like, who the fuck are you? And it's like, it's kind of like starting over, which is really, really difficult, especially when you've been doing it for so fucking long. So, I mean, I do miss, I guess, the community to some degree back in Toronto. I miss my friends. I miss my family. I miss some of my favorite pubs and bars and diners. So, yes, I will say that I do miss it. And actually, a related question is, when do you plan on coming out east? I really don't know. That's such a tough question to answer because I don't see it in the near future. I'd love to go to Newfoundland and Halifax and far, far east. I think if I was to go out east, I'd probably just put my van in storage and take a dirt cheap flight. Rather than, putting the mileage and the wear and tear on my van to go, 6,000 kilometers there and then 6,000 kilometers back. I think ultimately I've already drove across Canada. I already had that experience. So I don't know if I necessarily plan, it's definitely not on my bucket list. But to my friend that sent me that message, I miss you. And hopefully we see each other soon. This is a funny question here. What is my favorite cookie? Easy fucking answer. This is the President's Choice chocolate chip hard cookies. Why? They're $2 a fucking bag. And they're good. So, I don't know how there'd be any other choice, to be honest. Living on the road and broke as fuck, I'm not buying the top shelf fucking cookies. I'm buying bottom shelf cookies that still taste fucking good. Honestly, the only time I eat cookies anyway is usually when I've smoked a joint. I'm not much of a sweets fan. It's not really my thing. I like, trail mix. That's not a fucking snack really, but that's what I eat for, snacks. Sometimes I'll get like chocolate muffins or something, but like as far as snacking goes, nah, I'm not really a sweets lover at all. But, periodically if I just get a brand new bag of dope, I will go to the store and I'll buy the PC chocolate chip cookies. They're $2 a fucking bag, and I think you get like 21 cookies in it. You can't go wrong. So, that's like 10 cents a fucking cookie. It's a no-brainer. So, yeah, that's I guess my favorite cookie, price-wise, and probably overall because I don't really care. I'm not a foodie. I could give a shit. It could be an oatmeal cookie. I'd be fine. Am I having fun? I am. This is the most happy I've been in many years. Overall, I mean, I loved playing shows. I loved traveling. I loved touring. I loved all that kind of stuff. And I do miss it immensely. But you can't have everything in life. You really can't. You know, there's sacrifices that must be made in order for you to move forward and grow and do new things. And ultimately, yes, I am having fun. Would I go right back to my old lifestyle with the same job, have everything right back to normal as it was? Would I change that? I would say no. And the reason is because I'm not done yet here. You know, I haven't been on the road for a full year yet, and I think that's necessary. At least get on the road for a year, see how I'm feeling. If I'm starting to get that itch to, you know, get back into the East Coast and, you know, start up a project again, then so be it. I can do that, and that's the great thing about, you know, living your life is you call the fucking shots. So ultimately, I would say yes, I am having fun. I love exploring. I love, you know, being outside. I love meeting new nomadic-minded people. And especially actually now that I've been living on the road, some of my followers on Instagram and people that I follow are people I never would have followed if I had never chose this lifestyle, and I'm learning things from them. And there's a community. There really is a tight-knit community when it comes to van life and travelers, solo travelers and things like that. So that's something that would have never been a part of had I not have done this. So yeah, it's pretty fucking cool. And I would say, yes, I am having fun and I'm very happy. Thank you for asking. Okay. Well, here's a funny one. When toilet paper, do I wad or fold? Well, it really depends on how badly I gotta fucking get out of there. Like if I'm taking my time, let's put it this way. If I'm at McDonald's taking going to the bathroom, man, their toilet paper sucks so fucking much. You gotta basically ball it. Like it's just, I don't know how they, I get that they're trying to save money, but it's a multi-billion-dollar fucking restaurant or fast food chain. Come on, man. Buy some 2-ply. Like help a fucking brother and sister out when they're, you know, in a pinch, you know, fuck. So I don't know how to answer that. It really depends on where I am. Like if I'm in McDonald's, I guess it's a fucking ball. And I mean, maybe if I'm like in a comfortable spot, maybe I'll fold. When this question came through, I was like, what the fuck? Who's thinking of these things? Oh man. What is my favorite song that I wrote? Well, that is a really hard one. I've been doing this project for 15 years. So I've got stuff from when I was in a totally different mental state than I am now. But if I was to have to choose, I would say it's kind of a toss-up. I really like the song The Legacy. I think it's got so much dynamics to it. It's probably one of my favorite to sing and play. It's got everything from like the folk elements to the country and then metal and like super aggressive by the end. It's got a massive like crescendo. It's really well-written song and quite fun to play. I'd say that's definitely up there. And Burned Alive, I loved playing Burned Alive mainly because I really like doing the Mongolian throat singing. So Burned Alive was also up there. And then, of course, probably the best song I've ever written ultimately would be The Deep Rest. It's the most passionate. I was really in a really dark place during the writing of that song. So that's probably the best song that I have written. However, this brand new song, I just finished editing the music video last night. This new song is a fucking banger. So I'm really liking this one too. So, I mean, it's evolution, baby. It's evolution. You know, I'm changing as a person. As a craft, it's changing. It's always something new is always going to inspire me. I may be listening to a different style of music that inspires me. So, but to answer your question, I would say those 3 songs are probably up there as my favorite. And no, it is not Southbound. Southbound is kind of like our Smells Like Teen Spirit. I don't like listening to it. And I don't really like playing it either. Take that back. I did enjoy playing it with the band because, you know, everybody was involved to the fucking nines in that particular song. So we all had something really fun to do. So that was really cool. Next question. All right. Here's another one. If I go to BC, this is the question. If this person comes to BC, will I go skinny dipping with them? These are the questions I get, folks. Yeah, why not? I mean, I don't give a shit anymore. Like I think the more you say no, the less you're gonna learn, the less experiences you're gonna have. So yeah, sure, why not? Like I could give a shit. I'm comfortable with my body. It's not something that I find in the West, like the Western part of the world, we're so fucking anal about nudity. Unlike, in Europe, they don't give a shit. And I think we've got to get rid of the stigma of nudity being like sexualized. I really do. It's really stupid. So yeah, like I'll go skinny dipping. I don't give a fuck. Like, I really don't. And I mean, but again, to each their own. Some people are comfortable with it. Some people aren't. But I do think that if Western society started not sexualizing nudity so fucking much, more people would be comfortable with their bodies and more, acceptable that everyone's different. Everyone's different. Everyone's got different shapes, different sizes, and that's okay. So, and just embrace it. We are getting near the end here. So, now this is a good one. What's my favorite alcoholic beverage outside of vodka, water, squirt? Well, if I was fucking loaded, if I was like rich, my favorite drink of all time is an old fashioned, a good old fashioned whiskey. I mean, normally I don't drink old fashions because, you need first of all, you need the bitters and you need fucking oranges and all this shit. And, to be honest, man, I ain't drinking to be fancy. I'm usually drinking to, relieve some stress or something like that. But goddamn, man, if I go to a nice bar and I've got a couple extra bucks in my pocket, you bet your ass that one of the first things that I'll buy is a good old fashioned double. Fuck yeah. Gotta love them. They're tasty as fuck. They warm you up. And, yep, 4 seasons, baby. You can drink that shit any time of year. I love it. Some breakfast tips. I don't eat breakfast. I know it's a terrible thing. My eating actually over the last couple of weeks has been really bad. I don't eat breakfast. If I do, I do have some porridge. I do enjoy bacon and eggs periodically. It's a big mess though, especially with bacon and it's such a small space, the grease gets on the walls and fucking shit. So like the cleanup can be very tedious. So I try and keep my breakfast eating as simple as humanly possible if I eat breakfast. But that's very rare. Sometimes maybe just a banana or something, And we are getting down to the nitty gritty. I've got probably the best question for last. I'm just going through this. My favorite moment with the podcast. Or my favorite moment with the podcast / my favorite memory. Okay. I gotta say, when I was losing my mind on the episode, my favorite episode that I've released is beaten but not broken, or beaten but not broken. I forget what the damn episode title is, but it's when I kind of lost my mind with my old van Dusty, and I was up in Squamish, and it was like 2 months of downpour. I was having to build those shanties and chop wood in the rain. I was soaking wet, extremely depressed, really not in a good place mentally. Looking back, hands down, the most unforgettable moment maybe in my life. I have never been tested so much, and I will forever thank myself for, pushing through and sticking with the fucking plan, no matter what Mother Nature and life was throwing at me at that time. I will never, ever forget that period, ever. I've never been challenged so much mentally, physically, emotionally. I was at my wit's end, folks. Like I was almost in tears, like every day. Like I just felt so defeated every fucking day. I woke up and I heard the pounding on my roof, freezing cold. I had that wood stove in my van, so the entire van just stunk. It was terrible. But again, looking back, hands down, wouldn't fucking trade it for the world. Definitely one of the most educational periods since being on the road I have had. So great question, and I love actually going back into my head, reliving that moment, that period of time, because it really kind of inspires me. Even though it's myself, it's like when something shitty happens now, I'm like, look back, buddy. Remember you going through that shit? You could do it. And it's like, yeah, you can. So if you haven't, that's probably my favorite podcast episode. I think it's called Beaten but Not Broken or some shit. It's about 10 episodes ago or so. Check it out. Hands down my favorite anyway. And we have one last question here, and that is, how did I come up with the name Johnny Nocash? Great question. I've told a few people this. So when I was in Toronto, I was just starting out this entire project of playing like outlaw country / folk / punk, whatever you want to call it, death country. I was calling it drunk rock at the time, kind of like a play on words with punk rock. Oh no, I have one more question after this actually. But I was playing a gig, and I was making my own posters at the time, just in fucking Microsoft Paint. And I really wanted to recreate that famous Johnny Cash photo of him giving the finger. So iconic. Again, it's very punk rock attitude, just fucking like the look on his face is something like Sid Vicious or some shit. And I tried to recreate this photo, and it turned out so bad, so fake, and so fucking like staged. It was awful. It was I really wish I still had this photo because it's embarrassing. But right at that very moment when I saw the photo and I brought it in, because I was like, oh, this is terrible. And then I brought it into Paint to, put the details on the poster. At that very fucking moment, I just said, well, this is like fucking poor man's Johnny Cash, like Johnny Nocash. I just said it. Just said it out loud. And I think my buddy who's in the room just fucking burst out laughing of the play on words. And I mean, my mom played in a rockabilly band. I was also getting into a lot more country at the time. I was exposed to a lot more folk and rockabilly and, these types of things. And, even though I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan, probably not nearly as big of a fan as like some of you guys, but I've always kind of like related to him as far as his demeanor and what he stood for, and I just rolled with it. I ended up scrapping the photo, and I did my own paint drawing of a stick figure of me as a guitar. And I wrote Johnny Nocash, and I believe that I had like the cover price of $1 million or some shit like that. I was just playing around. I didn't give a fuck back then, and this was the only bar I was allowed playing at was like a Hell's Angels bar. It's just a small little dive. And it all started right from there. I remember there was maybe 15 or 20 people in the pub, tops. And when I said, g'day, folks, I'm Johnny Nocash, everybody just was like, they thought, did I hear that right? And after the show, a number of people came up to me and said, man, even if I didn't like your music, that's a great name. And it just stuck with me. And after that, I just was like, this is going to be my name. Before that, I was called Murdered. If you listen to Dagger Road, there's a lot of death. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I kind of came up with the term Death Country, is I sing about life and death quite a bit. So the name Murdered just seemed very suiting, but it was also, niche market. A 50-year-old woman probably wouldn't be putting on Murdered every day, but she might put on Johnny Nocash, right? So I was like, I got to kind of market this a little bit, more intelligently. So that is the story of how I came up with Johnny Nocash. I think one of these days down the road, I will do a full episode of the entire conception of this project from start to now. And it's been an insane story, and I would love to get into detail about that on a future episode. And the very last question I've got for you today is, why haven't I been collecting the bones that have been gifted to me? And the next comment after that was, it seems like, Mother Nature is giving you all these gifts and you're being a douche. I love how you guys can just come right on out and tell me off, and then I use that and I throw it up on the podcast. So here we go. All right, this is a good question because I'd love to actually get more into bone work. Bones fucking stink. I got a very small space. If I was like camping by a lake or a river for a long period of time, I would definitely keep those bones, and I'd bring like my pot out and I'd boil it down on a fire. But I did boil some bones in here to make a bone knife. Holy fuck, did it stink. Rotting fucking flesh and bone and marrow, and then just emanating in this very small space was absolutely disgusting. I'd need probably a little bit more of a shop or just being outside a lot more to just get the fucking smell away from me. So in a nutshell, I would love to collect a lot more bones. I've been actually commented a number of times about why I'm not keeping bones and you should sell them and all these types of things. And I probably could, because I found some fucking sick bones and some sick skulls that I could probably easily sell. But again, I just don't want fucking rotting flesh in my van or boiling bones with flesh on them in my van. So call me a softie for not wanting to, have my bedding and my clothes smell like death. But that is the ultimate reason that one time I boiled the bones in here, it was fucking gross. And I don't really know if I want to be sleeping in that all that often. I mean, my sink is right, well, as you can see, here's my stove, and my bed is just beyond the camera. It's not fucking far. It's real damn close. So, but there we go. This is some of the questions that you guys have asked me, and I really do appreciate you guys reaching out and getting, a bit more involved in the discussions, the topics, and things like that, because this has been growing over a period of time. Like I said, some episodes bomb. This one might very well bomb because some people hate Q&As. I know that usually I avoid them, so if you avoid them, that's fine. That's fine. I enjoy doing this, and I'll continue doing it. And thank you so much for tuning in, being a fucking listener, and being a supporter of mine. And of course, if you made it this far, cheers to you. The longevity that it takes to sit through, 30, 40 minutes of me rambling away definitely takes some endurance. So thank you all so very fucking much. As you know, if you want to support me, if you want to check out some of my photos, you can go on over to Instagram at johnnynocashofficial. If you want to send me a message of any kind, you can always email me at lifewithjohnnynocash@gmail.com. If you want to support this content, you can always buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/johnnynnocash. Or if you're fucking dying for some new merch or something that you want to wear around proud, like a Stay Dusty t-shirt, you can head over to johnnynocashofficial.bandcamp.com. I believe we are getting a bit low on the Stay Dusty shirts, so grab them now before they run out. I don't think I'm going to be doing another run. So thank you all so much for, being with me. Sometimes it does get lonely out here, but you guys being interactive with me makes it feel like the world isn't nearly as big as it really is. So thank you for that. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we have wrapped up 30 episodes of Life with Johnny Nocash, and I just want to say thank you all for being with me from the very beginning. And like I said, if this is your first time tuning in, cheers and welcome. Fucking crack that beer. Have a vodka water squirt. Hang the fuck out and just let it all out. So until next time, folks, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I can't wait to fucking hang out with you again. So until then, you better stay dusty. I'm out. I'm living in a van playing outlaw tunes. Live with Johnny Nocash. Smoking them smokes and drinking that booze. Live with Johnny Nocash. Where I go, how the fuck don't know. I'm off the grid on dusty roads. There ain't no better way of eating beans.